Hi, Annalisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the March 2023 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Libra for sun and rising placements. Happy March, Libra. You're kind of going through an intense time right now with all this Aries energy in the air, so we're going to talk about it. So we start out March every year in Pisces season. So the sun is currently in Pisces. And, we have something very unique going on at the start of this March month where we have 5 celestial bodies in the cardinal fire sign of Aries. And Aries is the sign that opposes Libra. So Libra in the zodiac is here, well, over here, I would say, and then Aries is over here. And so you guys are opposites attract, opposites oppose, two sides of the same coin, but in very different ways. And when we have so much energy in a area of our chart or horoscope or whatever that is in opposition to us, it creates a lot of tension within our minds, our bodies, depending on, the area of the chart and what else we might have in that sign. Like, some people, might be a Libra dominant person with a lot of other things in Aries. Like, you might have some planets in Aries. Your moon could be in Aries. You could be a Libra rising with an Aries sun. Like, that's all possible. But if you're a Libra dominant person who lacks a lot of Aries in your chart, that opposition can feel really uncomfortable because it's an energy it's opposite of you. It's doing things in a different way. So we're going to talk about basically what is going on for the Libra horoscope with all this Aries energy and how you can learn and grow from it. So let's talk about first what Libra is in the zodiac and what it kind of represents. So Libra is the cardinal air energy, and cardinal energy is about initiating something, activating something. And Libra, being ruled by the planet Venus, is all about initiating balance and fairness within relationship, understanding, mutual understanding and harmony within relationship. Libra also has a relationship to justice. And so in Hermetic principles, we have a saying in Hermetic. There is a saying. I don't know why I say we. I guess I say we because I adhere to Hermetic principles as like kind of natural laws. I'm definitely into Hermetic stuff, so that's why I say we. But they, whoever in Hermetic philosophy, says that the universe is always seeking to balance itself. So if the pendulum swings really far one way, it's inevitably going to swing back the other way. And, the less extreme that we are with our actions, the less likely that pendulum's going to have to go so far the opposite way, right? And so in order to keep things balanced, we don't want to go to extremes. And Libra is kind of about that. Libra is very much, how do we keep harmony, justice, peace, equality? How do we see both sides of a situation? You'll see Libra is often, defined and characterized as being indecisive. The reason for that is because the indecisiveness quality is being able to see the value of both. And so if you're left with a scenario where you have to choose one over the other, sometimes it's hard because you can see why you would want to choose both. So I'm one of those people where if I go out to eat or I go out, to a coffee shop and I see multiple things I want in the menu, I just get whatever I want. I don't be like, oh, I can only have one beverage, so I should just choose one beverage. I'm like, no, I'm going to get the juice. I'm going to get the coffee. I'm going to get the water. I'm a 3 beverage kind of gal usually. So that's how I've cured some of my indecisiveness. I have Venus in Libra, so I feel like I tend to be a little bit on the indecisive spectrum too. There's lots of Libras out there that have other placements in their charts that do make them more decisive. And so again, this is a very general horoscope interpretation, just focused on the Libra qualities. If you're a decisive Libra, that's great. Keep doing that, but those are just some of the general qualities. Libra rules the 7th house in astrology, and that house represents partnership. And so that's marriage, romantic partnerships, business partnerships, best friend partnerships, any kind of partnership that we might be in. Libra is ruling that house. And, in partnership, we also have compromise. We have give and take. Sometimes we have codependency. So, sometimes Libras feel the need to have a partner with them in all of their decision making because they'd rather do it that way than by themselves. So those are some themes about Libra. Aries is the opposite. So Aries rules independence, self-assertion, self-orientation. Aries is cardinal fire, the opposite of cardinal air. They're both on the yang extroverted polarity. Aries is the sign that rules the self. The first house in astrology is ruled by Aries. It's ruled by the planet Mars. And, you know, if we think of Libra as peace and compromise, Aries is war and fight and fighting for who you are and who you want to be in the world, right? So if somebody's coming in to take over and to, you know, dethrone you, Aries isn't going to bow down. Aries is going to fight to the death, or, you know, until they win, and Aries wants to win. And so it's a very different energy, and they both have their place. You know, in Libra, we can be too compromising to a fault where that can hurt us. In Aries, we can be too confrontational, too assertive, too much about the domination or the fight in a way that hurts relationship. And so we have to find that integration and that balance. We have to know when to lean into Aries, and we have to know when to lean into Libra, and we have to see the value in both. And they both have their negative qualities, right? Aries, you know, can be really self-centered. You know, we think of Leo as the self-centered sign a lot of times because Leo is very showy and flashy, but Leo rules self-expression and creativity and performance. So Leo's actually not about the self, it's about trying to entertain other people. Aries is about the self. Aries is about, who am I? What do I want? And the tagline for Aries is, I am. I am. And so, you know, Aries kind of flies under the radar because it's not so showy. You know, Leo's very like, here I am. So then everybody's like, okay, we get it. There you are. And Aries is like, I'm not going to be flashy. I'm not going to show, but I'm going to be self-oriented. And it is all about me. And I don't care what you think. Like, that's a little bit more of how Aries can manifest at various degrees, right? I mean, I have so many Aries people in my life, and, you know, so many of them are generous, giving, compassionate, compromising. And, you know, I'm not saying that Aries people don't have that, but Aries out of the zodiac, in terms of what it represents, is the self. So what does this mean for you, Libra, in the month of March, where we start out with 5 celestial bodies in Aries? Let's talk about which ones are in Aries. We've got Jupiter and Venus conjunct today at 12 degrees Aries, conjunct Chiron in Aries. We have Juno and Vesta also in Aries. Venus is the planet that rules Libra. So in Aries, it's considered to be in its detriment. Jupiter does very well in Aries, but it also can do a little bit of some delusions of grandeur, larger than life stuff. It does that in Leo too. And then we have Chiron, the wounded healer, healing identity issues in the sign of Aries. We have Juno, the asteroid that represents contractual marriage or contractual partnership in the sign of independent Aries. And Vesta, which is a sign that often is associated with our relationship to autonomy, sacred sex, and our own wisdom around how we protect those parts of ourselves, our identity, our autonomy, and our sexual relationship to ourselves. So in the Libra horoscope, all of that Aries energy is opposite your sun energy or your rising energy. And it's in the area of the chart that has to do with relationships. And when people have Aries in the area that Libra traditionally rules, there's an integration that's already happening. And oftentimes, the lesson that the Libra individual has to learn during this time is, how do I have my own voice and my own autonomy in my relationships with others? How do I continue to keep my harmony and my conflict resolution side of myself there, but still being confrontational and still fighting for myself or advocating for myself? I guess fighting, you know, can be kind of looked at as a negative word. We don't necessarily have to fight, but we can advocate for ourselves. And sometimes, you know, one of the shadow qualities of Libra can be passive aggressiveness or a conflict avoidant. And what that does a lot of times is creates problems down the road. So a lot of times, if we avoid a conflict, it'll build up over time, and then we end up exploding about it, which is very Aries, to explode. And so sometimes people don't know how to balance that. How do we advocate for ourselves without having to get to that point, right? It's a lesson that a lot of Libra dominant people have to learn. And so this time period for you, you know, you might be learning how to advocate for yourself with a partner, or you might be learning that you need to work on being more confrontational in your relationships with others. It's also, you know, really positive time for you in building your self-worth and your own confidence in relationship dynamics. So if, you know, you've had insecurities for being accepted for who you are in your wholeness, this is a time where this Aries, Jupiter, Venus energy could be really enhancing your need to heal and work on having more confidence in partnership and relationship, for being your true authentic self. I think that there's a lot of Libras in my life that I've known where that's been the journey, is kind of having to learn how to show up authentically from the very beginning and be more upfront about things instead of masking it. Like, this is a common Libra thing where you'll kind of want to come off very airy and bubbly and fun in the beginning, but under the surface, maybe you're not really as airy and bubbly as you're coming off to be. And so then when it's time to get serious or talk about things, the people in your life are thrown off because they're not used to this other side of you. And then you feel like you're not accepted when you do try to be confrontational or advocate for yourself. But it's not because you're not accepted. It's because the way that you go about it, or the kind of way that you're not showing up authentically from the very beginning, is confusing for people. And that's something that I've noticed a lot of Libra struggle with. They're kind of like, well, why, you know, I get along better when I keep that side hidden. But, you know, eventually in close relationships, that side has to come out, right? And we have to find healthy ways of sharing those things with people that are not destructive or hurtful. And in Aries, that's hard. Aries, like I said, it can be, you know, impulsive and it can react. So, you know, that peacekeeper quality of Libra or detachment quality of Libra can be helpful in that, but not if it's in these two extremes. And so you might be kind of working through some of that stuff in March, for the whole month, but you're supported in it. Jupiter and Venus are supporting you. Chiron is helping you heal. Juno's helping you figure out, you know, what is make or break in your relationships. And then, you know, Vesta's there kind of saying, you know, how do you have autonomy within your relationships? You know, I have a very codependent relationship with my husband, but we also have a lot of autonomy. We have a ton of autonomy. We spend a lot of time apart doing our own thing. And then we equally are very dependent emotionally, financially, in so many ways on each other. And so that's to me the positives of Aries and Libra, is that you can do both. It doesn't have to be this either or of like, oh, well, if I, you know, join my finances or am somewhat dependent on this person, then I'm codependent. There's all these problems with me. I'm not autonomous enough. I think codependence gets unhealthy if we don't have our own relationship with ourselves outside of our relationship, right? Like, you have to go do things by yourself and have your own life while also still having a life with a partner. Your partner also can't be everything to you in every single way. And so if you're putting all of your needs on one person, emotionally, physically, financially, if all of that's going on one person for all the time, and you don't have friends or family members that you can kind of disperse those needs with, that's codependent, you know. And some stuff has to come from within. And Aries is really self-reliant. Aries is really good at pulling that stuff up from within. So if you are struggling with codependence, this Aries time could help you build some of that autonomy there. So that's a big theme for Libra this month. Let's get into some of the other themes. So Mercury today on March 2nd is at the last degree of Aquarius. It's conjunct Saturn. Reflect over the last 3 years of how Saturn and Aquarius went for you, because Saturn's leaving Aquarius this month. It's going to enter Pisces on March 7th, which is the same day as our full moon that we have in Virgo. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But, you know, today on March 2nd is a great time to reflect on how the last 3 years have gone and some of the ideas or changes that you've been through, because we're about to start writing a new story starting this month. Mercury is going to enter Pisces on the 3rd, so tomorrow, and it's going to be in Pisces until the 19th, and then it'll enter Aries. And so this Pisces time is a really positive time for you to spend some time working on your spiritual health and your relationship to your own creative energy, your spiritual energy. Mercury is not very strong in Pisces in terms of organization or, creating structured plans. But in Pisces, it's really a good energy to kind of figure out how to go with the flow more, how to lean more into your feelings. Some Libras that lack more of the mutable energy or water energy have a hard time sometimes leaning into their feelings. There can be kind of this need for a lot of detachment from things. And this Pisces season is not about that. Pisces season is about leaning into what we feel and feeling it and allowing ourselves to cry and have emotions and feel it. Libras sometimes don't show emotion as much as some of the other signs do. And it doesn't mean that you don't have them, right? So finding ways to kind of express your feelings within yourself in a way that's cathartic and healing and healthy for you. And your spiritual health is, your emotional health is of theme for the month of March, while Mercury and the Sun are transiting together in Pisces. And then Saturn joining the party. So let's talk about Saturn entering that area. So Saturn's going to be in Pisces, in the same area that kind of represents your emotional health and your spiritual health until it enters, on March 7th, and then it's going to be there until 2025. And so we're going to have it there for the next couple years. And this area of the chart has to do with our daily routines and our health. And so during, a Pisces transit where this is happening, there can be some confusion around what's going on. We could also feel like we're ungrounded and like it's hard for us to kind of get structure into place with our routines. But this is a great time to explore those things and to be open to maybe trying out different modalities than what you're used to or what you've done in the past. Staying grounded might be kind of hard for you during this time. So it'll be important that you work actively on staying grounded or being grounded. So, that's different for everybody in terms of how to do that. So if you have things that you already feel do that for you, lean into that. But, a lot of Libras really enjoy music, and music is great for Pisces. And so Saturn in Pisces and Libra enjoying aesthetics and art and music, like that can be grounding. Art specifically, like painting, drawing, doing things like that is really great for Pisces energy and Libra energy. And so if expressing yourself that way is something that is cathartic for you, or even coloring in a coloring book, sometimes like doing something artistic in the physical can also be grounding as much as explorative. So that's something that you could look forward to during Saturn in Pisces. But again, it's hitting an area of the chart where it can make kind of finding structure, stability in your routines and your health, that kind of stuff, a little confusing. So it's just, kind of want to go with the flow and be open to mutability, which is hard for the cardinal signs because the cardinal signs want to control everything. So, you're not going to be able to control everything with your daily routine and your health for the next 2 years. But what you can do is implement new things and be open to seeing what works, what doesn't work, and doing your best. Let's see what else there is. Okay, so let's get into, kind of the last half of the month. So we have Mercury entering Aries the day before the Sun enters Aries. So we're going to have Mercury joining the Aries party again in the area that represents relationships for you. This is a really positive time for you to talk about some of that stuff that's come up. If you need to be more confrontational about things that are bothering you in a relationship or things that you want, Aries has a lot to do with what we want to go after. And so if that's stuff that you need to talk about with your partner or partners, like that's something that might come up for you at the end of the month. And in Aries season, Venus is going to be entering Taurus, which Venus does very, very well in Taurus. And the area of the chart that this is hitting for you is your area that represents shared resources, assets, loans. This is a great time if you're thinking of pulling out any money from anything, like whether it's a loan or investments, stocks, even investing could be really positive for you during the last half of March and first week of April. And so again, that's a really positive thing for Libra, getting kind of that step in order. It's great for taking relationships to the next level. So if you're already going to get married or something like that, Venus and Taurus is actually a really good energy for marriage for the Libra horoscope, specifically Libra rising. So I like that. Juno is also going to be in Taurus during that time with Venus, which is the asteroid that rules marriage. So that's partially why I'm saying that too, is because there's a lot of contractual romance and merit, getting things solidified and committed to in a relationship in that way, and merging assets, like if you and your partner have assets you're merging. That's also a theme for the Libra horoscope. Mars at the end of March is going to be entering Cancer. So Mars is finally leaving Gemini. Mars is going to be in Gemini, trining Libra up until the 25th, and then it's going to enter Cancer. And so where that is affecting the Libra horoscope is your area of career. And so, Mars is not an easy planet. It brings action, determination, willpower, ambition to wherever it is, but it also can bring conflict and some turbulence. And so, depending on what your goals are with your career, you could be experiencing all of the above. Maybe this is a time where you're ready to kind of get the move on and do some things, and take some leadership action roles in your work. And, it might not be totally easy the whole way. There might be some conflict. Mars is going to be in Cancer from the 25th of March until May 20th. So we have a long little stint with Mars in Cancer until it enters Leo. So your career is going to be highlighted pretty much that entire time. And then we have Pluto entering Aquarius at the end of the month, and it's going to be going back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn the rest of the year before stationing in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So you're going to have Pluto and Aquarius in the area of your horoscope around creativity and self-expression. So, and children too. I think Pluto in this area of the chart can be really hard for people when they want to have children. This is a horoscope, super general. So I'm not saying that's true for every Libra, because it really depends on your personal birth chart, but it can kind of lead to issues around fertility or getting pregnant easily, or even some traumatic birth experiences. And it's going to be there for the next 20 years. So I feel like, again, it's better to look at your personal birth chart than a horoscope for that kind of stuff, because it's so generic. But, it's a cycle that we're going to be in as a collective, and your self-expression and creativity is highlighted over the next 20 years. Pluto is pain into power. So you might have to work on healing some inner stuff that's deep and troublesome or hard, some trauma to get to the power place. Pluto is that, we got to go into the underworld, work through all the dark stuff and, our shadows, and, transcend as the phoenix, and, kind of rebirth into that new form of self. Sorry, I'm so fidgety. It's just how I keep my brain fresh, I guess. I feel like I fidget a lot in these videos. So then, we're going to be in Aries season by the time that happens. So the spring equinox happens on the 20th. And then we have a new moon right after that. So we'll talk about the moon. So we have a full moon in Virgo on March 7th at 16 degrees. And, Virgo energy is, depending on the Libra individual, it can feel like rigid for a Libra. And, I have a lot of Libras in my life. I have a lot, and I've worked with a lot of them. I have been in musical projects with a lot of Libras. I've got Libra family members. I feel like Libra is an energy I'm very, very, very attuned to and familiar with. I get along with it really well as a Leo, but y'all are flaky and spacey. Even the ones that aren't flaky, you're spacey. Most Libra people in my life have been diagnosed with some form of attention deficit disorder. Air signs in general, I feel like, are a little bit more on that wavelength, but this Virgo full moon is an opportunity for you to make some goals in time management. And I'm saying that with love, but let's get some time management on the docket of manifesting for you this full moon. The area that it's hitting in the chart has nothing to do with that. So that's just my projection. I'm sorry. The area that it's hitting in the chart has to do with your subconscious and the relationship that you have to your spirituality and your subconscious. And, this is a really good time, the full moon, for you to hunker in, do some spiritual work, some grounding, some meditation. And then, think about, Virgo is all about systems and daily routine and, you know, the systems that set ourselves up for success. And so I bring that up because the Libras that I know that struggle with those things, if you struggle with time management, if you struggle with organization, you know, Virgo's there to kind of help figure that out. Even Virgos that I know that have Libra in their chart still, like, if you're a Virgo without Libra in your chart, you're usually a lot more, or without any air, the organizational part of Virgo manifests a little bit more. But I've noticed the Virgo air combos still have a harder time sometimes locking down some of those routines, or, you know, daily routine stuff. So that might just be a goal that you can set for yourself on the full moon. And, you know, also spiritual hygiene, you know, is a good way to look at Virgo in this area of the horoscope. The new moon that we're going to have is on the 21st of March, and it's going to be at 0 degrees Aries conjunct Mercury. And so again, this is a really positive time for you to set intentions around how you communicate and assert yourself in your relationships, your partnerships specifically. And so if you've been feeling like you need to work on confidence and confrontation, or advocating for yourself in your marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, non-gendered partnership, you know, however you define yourself in your partnership, this is a really good time to work on that confidence, that assertion, and, you know, figuring out that balance. You know, it's a balance. We don't want to be confrontational and aggro, you know, all the time. Like, we don't want to be in our Aries, you know, ambition, charge ahead energy all the time. Sometimes we need to be more in peaceful, compromise, lovey-dovey, detached, like whimsical energy. And so you have a lot of positive things to bring to the table, Libra, with that, you know. But, you know, if you're struggling with the parts of yourself that sometimes don't, you know, stand up for yourself, or aren't assertive or decisive enough, this is a really good time to work on that. So happy March, and I will see you next month.